let's talk about the alternating pattern or the point-by-point manner of comparing and contrasting. So in a point-by-point manner, the similarities and differences are given on aspect or feature possessed by the items being compared and contrasted. So if we're going to look at a diagram of the train of thought when you're using this manner or the point by point manner, you have a topic sentence and you have a plan of development. So the plan of development is the structure or the sequence of what will be discussed in the preceding or in the succeeding paragraphs or sentences. This is the sequence of who will be mentioned first and so on. So, for example, in our example here or in our diagram here, we can see here after the plan of development, we are now going to go down to the explanation of aspect A of items 1 and 2. Aspect A is the characteristic that will be the focus of your comparison or contrast. Comparison and contrast. Items refer to the word item here refer to the items that we are comparing and contrasting. So aspect A of items 1 and 2 is expected to be discussed. Then next to that is the aspect B of items 1 and 2 and aspect C of items 1 and 2. For example, let's look at our example here. So if we're going to read the paragraph, we will dissect this later. When deciding between adopting a dog or a cat, several key differences and similarities emerge, especially in companionship, maintenance, their contribution to the household. So we have here our topic sentence and also the plan of development. In terms of companionship, dogs often provide an energetic and loyal presence, eagerly joining their owners for walks or playtime, while cats offer a more independent and subtle affection, preferring to curl up nearby on their own terms. Regarding maintenance, dogs typically require more effort with needs like regular grooming and daily exercise, whereas cats are generally low maintenance, needing only occasional brushing and self-managing their activity through play. Both animals, however, bring joy to a household as dogs brighten the day with their enthusiasm and cats charm with their quiet grace. Ultimately, the choice depends on whether one prefers the active devotion of a dog or the serene independence of a cat. So here in our example, we can see that the items here are the word companionship, no, sorry, the words dog and cat. So the dogs, the first one to be mentioned is item 1, and cat is item number 2. So the aspects that were talked about here were in this area here, we can see companionship, that's aspect A, maintenance, that's aspect B, and contribution, which is aspect C. Okay? Um, yes, their contribution to the household. So in here, we can see that in the first sentence, we can see there the topic sentence and the merging of the plan of development. So the first part of the sentence, when deciding between adopting a dog or a cat, several key differences and similarities emerge. So it is the main topic here that the cat and the dog has differences and similarities. And the other half of that sentence talks about the plan of development. So what will be mentioned in the next sentence would be companionship, maintenance, and contribution. Next sentence has the sentence that talks about the first aspect, which is companionship. So in here, the cat and the dog has already been compared or has already been contrasted. So this is the structure of the point by point. So the aspect is discussed already and the items 1 and 2 are already contrasted in terms of the aspect companionship. And that same pattern is followed in the next sentence, which is the aspect maintenance. So the word maintenance there, or the aspect of maintenance between the dogs and cats, was also is also contrasted. Okay, so let me read it. Regarding maintenance, dogs typically require more effort with needs like regular grooming and daily exercise. Whereas, that's your discourse marker, cats are generally low maintenance, needing only occasional brushing and self-managing their activity through play. So, in the two sentences that we have mentioned, each sentence talks about the point, talks about the aspect, and they were already contrasted in just one sentence. That is what we mean when we say point by point organization. In the next sentence, both animals, however, bring joy to a household. So this is talking about the contribution of both the dog and the cats, the dogs and the cats. As dogs brighten the day with their enthusiasm, and cats charm with their quiet grace. So here we can see the comparison, or the pointing out of the similarities between items 1 and 2. Ultimately, the choice depends on whether one prefers the active devotion of a dog or the serene independence of a cat. So, this is a summary of what items 1 and 2 are both capable of. Okay, so I hope you get the point about alternating points, or the point alternating manner, or the point by point structure of organization. Okay, so let's look at the distribution of what I was talking about. So on the topmost box, we see there the top sentence. There are several key differences and similarities that emerge between a cat and a dog, the cats and the dogs. And the next sentence to that, or the next statement to that, they have been merged. Actually, you can do that. You can merge in one sentence the topic and also the plot or the plan of development. So the plan of development was that uh, the first one to be discussed is all about companionship, maintenance, and contribution to the household. And next to that, we have the companionship. That's the first aspect for uh for the contrast between A, which is the dogs, and versus B, which refers to the cats. Then next that was discussed was maintenance for A and B, and then lastly the contribution between A and B. That is actually the similarities already, the pointing out of similarities. So the pre-writing stage of the comparison and contrast, which will be outlining or listing or any other uh, free writing technique, you can look at it like this. You can write it like this. So this is point by point version 1. So we have two versions for this manner, or for this organization. It's just actually the position of where the similarities are going to be mentioned. So in version 1, the topic sentence and the point or the plan of development are still on the topmost. And then the second one is the pointing out of the similarities. And the third one is the discussion of aspect 1 of A and B, and then aspect 2 of A and B, and then aspect 3 of A and B. So if you're going to look at it, it's just the position of where you are going to um, describe the similarities of the two items that would be different. So here in point by point version 1, we have here, when deciding between adopting a dog or a cat, several key differences, blah, blah, blah. I guess I discussed this earlier. And then the similarities could be discussed on the next paragraph. or in the next sentence in our case. Both animals, however, bring joy to a household as dogs brighten the day with their enthusiasm and cats charm with their quiet grace. So you can restructure this in such a way that they are still talking about the similarities of both the items, dogs and the cats. And then in the third statement, you can already talk about companionship. And then in the next one, regarding maintenance. And then in other comparison and contrast paragraph, you can continue aspect three of A and B, so on and so on. And you know what? This example that I have here is we have just written there two aspects because in our example we only have two aspects mentioned. Okay, but in the reality of comparing and contrasting, you can have more than two aspects or features that you would like to make as your point of comparison and contrast for items. Next is the point by two version two. So as I've told you, in our example, this is the outline that it follows. You have here the topic sentence, just the same from version one. Then the second one will be talking about aspect one of A and B right away, and then aspect two of A and B, then aspect three of A and B, okay? And then the last, and so on. And the last one is that we'll be talking about similarities. So what our example has shown us is that it the similarities were mentioned on the last part of the paragraph. Okay, so let's have another example. So let us read. Both coffee and tea serve as popular morning beverages. So this is now your topic. So this is talking about the popularity of coffee and tea. So our items here are mentioned. Item one is coffee, item two is tea, but they differ significantly in flavor, preparation, and cultural associations. So this is your plan of development. So we will be mentioning the flavor, preparation, and the cultural association. So it is expected that these three will be mentioned in the following order. So let's see. In terms of flavor, that's it. That's your aspect one. Coffee offers a bold, robust taste that energizes the palate, while tea provides a lighter, more delicate profile, often with floral or earthy undertones. So we have used there the discourse marker while. Okay, next, preparation. Okay, that's aspect number two. Also sets them apart. Coffee typically requires a quick brewing process, such as drip or espresso methods, whereas tea involves steeping leaves for varying lengths of time, depending on the type. Okay, so that's your aspect number two for items one and two. Then the third one, culturally, that's cultural associations already. Coffee is often linked to fast-paced environments like bustling American cafes, while tea carries a reputation for calm and tradition, exemplified by ceremonies in places like Japan or England. Despite these differences, both beverages unite people through shared rituals of consumption and comfort. So this is more like a conclusion plus the doling out to us of the similarities of items, coffee and tea. Okay, so yes, that is a point by point type of organization.